You are watching Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm Julie Grant, and we're following some breaking news for you out of Tennessee, where Nashville police officer Andrew Delke has just pleaded guilty to the crime of manslaughter for the 2018 shooting death of Daniel Hambrick. The plea agreement was announced in open court moments ago at a hearing. Hambrick was shot from behind while running away from the officer while carrying a gun. It was a very emotional day in court. Let's take a listen first to what Delke had to say to the judge.
I am pleading guilty today because I recognize that my use of deadly force was not reasonably necessary under all the circumstances. I recognize that what happened on July 26, 2018 was tragic. Mrs. Hambrick lost her son that day, and I am responsible for her loss. Excuse me. These are facts that I will have to live with for the rest of my life, and no mother should ever have to experience the loss of a child, and not a day has gone by that I have not thought about my actions. I also recognize that my actions impacted the community and the police department. I hope this case can contribute positively to the much needed discussion about how police officers are trained and how we as a community want police officers to interact with citizens. I am deeply sorry for the harm my actions cause, and I hope that Mr. Hambrick's family will obtain some comfort from my acceptance of responsibility and my guilty plea today.
And following the defendant's plea of guilty, the courtroom, of course, was full of emotion, full of anger for some. And during the victim impact statements, the mother of victim Daniel Hambrick took the stand to tell the court what she's endured in the years since she lost her son.
On June 1st, 1993, I gave birth to Daniel Edward Hambrick. He was my only child and the love of my life. Daniel recognized at an early age that I had a disability, but he was never ashamed of me or embarrassed by me. He loved me unconditionally and constantly said that he would always take care of me. My son was my eyes. Since he's been gone, things have not been the same, and they never will be. There is not 1 hour that goes by that I do not think of Daniel. Even though I have friends and family, there is a void in me that cannot be filled. Nothing and no one compares to my precious son. I am angry, mad, and disgusted, but I pray that no other mother have to endure what I've endured these last 3 years.
So heartbreaking, and there's just so much more that happened in that courtroom after those moments. To help us break that down, let me bring in Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae live in the studio. Julia.
Julie, such an emotional day for this family, such an important day that this deal is coming in the 11th hour before jury selection was set to go forward on Monday. This morning, I had communication with the attorney for the Hambrick family, the one who represents Vicki Hambrick, that you heard her statements being read aloud in court. And Joy Kimbrough, the attorney for the family, said that the mother had no idea that this plea deal had happened and that it was done, quote, behind the family's back. So we saw those emotions boil over there outside of the courtroom. Take a look.
You racist!
Absolute outrage over that decision or this agreement that was come to by the district attorney and the defense in this case. This defendant was facing life in prison without parole if this had gone forward to trial, but instead of having a conviction for first-degree murder, he is accepting manslaughter as the conviction has a range of 3 to 6 years. And you heard today the judge sentencing him to 3 years on the lighter end of that range, Julie.
Julia, my jaw dropped just now. A couple things I want to unpack with you. First of all, the first shocking thing is that this family was not consulted before making that plea agreement. And again, this is according to the attorney for the family. We have not spoken to the district attorney's office there, but my gosh, I mean, you know this well, Julia, you're an attorney too. I mean, victims have rights, and for them to not have been consulted and to have no clue, as the attorney is saying, that is stunning to me.
It is really surprising to me, too. I've actually reached out to the family attorney after hearing that this was, in fact, the case, according to Joy Kimbrough, whether or not the victim rights in Tennessee apply here, whether they have a version of Marcy's Law there that allows for that communication with the family. So I think that could have alleviated some of what we saw in court if they were privy to this process. But as far as they knew, when I spoke with the family representative a couple of days ago, they were preparing for a trial in this case, and for that to start on Monday. And one thing that local media has noted about this case is that it is the first in Nashville that involves a police officer being prosecuted for an on-duty shooting. So this is a case that has had a lot of ramifications there in the area.
Oh, most definitely it has, Julia. You know, and another important distinction I think to make, and you know this, and I want our viewers to understand this as well, because it can be very confusing. And I never like seeing the phrase, a person will drop charges, because it's not up to an individual person. When the criminal system's involved, the Commonwealth attorneys, they're representing the Commonwealth or the state. It's not like in civil court where a victim can drop a lawsuit. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it is the state's decision or the Commonwealth's decision to do that. But typically, because of laws like Marcy's Law you've mentioned, and just the way other victims' rights laws are on the books, victims will be consulted in that process. So at the end of the day, it's the final call. A lot of times victims aren't happy about a decision, but ultimately it's up to those prosecutors who have a duty to represent the people of the state and not the individual person who might have been affected. But here I want to make the distinction, because this is saying something totally different, that they were unaware. It's one thing if they were told and they don't agree with it and they're angry. That's still something, you know, hey, they were told, they were consulted, but for whatever reason, the state felt the need to strike up the deal. But to be completely in the dark about this and stunned to learn of it today is really, really upsetting. And I want to also ask you about something else. We played that clip where just the outburst occurred, and it was so terrible to see that. And And I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, Julia, because I recognize you're here with us in the studio. You weren't in the courtroom when that happened, and we're relying on our affiliate there for the video. But do you know how close in time Daniel Hambrick's mother, Vicky, had that outburst to the impact statements being read? Because she was so peaceful, and she was standing there with her arm around someone as the attorney read the statement. This is great if we can look back at the video. And then, do you know what triggered that, or what might have happened in between?
You know, we do want to point out for our viewers that when that statement was being read, that was actually being read by the family attorney. So we could see Vicky Hambrick there hugging her relatives while it was being read into the record, but it was not actually her voice. So unsure of what she was feeling in that moment as someone else was speaking on her behalf, what seemed like a written statement that she prepared and then was shared, but then ultimately to perhaps see the man who killed her son, who the world has seen kill her son because of that really shocking video that came out in August of 2018, released publicly, of them seeing the officer seem to square up, take aim at Daniel Hambrick as he was running away, holding a gun. That was something that sparked a lot of outrage in the community, prompted community oversight, prompted a look at body camera programs for the Nashville Police Department. So all of that just bubbling up there in this community. But they were, I can tell you, according to the reporter for News Channel 5, who's our sister station there in the area, the family did get allowed to come back into the courtroom after all of that happened, and there were cheers and claps for them after everything calmed down.
Oh, my goodness. This is really something. I mean, it's stunning to see outbursts like that in court, because it typically doesn't happen, and typically everything is so under control. I'll be curious to see if something was said or something triggered that, and I'm glad you made that distinction as well, that Vicky Hambrick is the woman with the blonde hair and the tie-dye T-shirt, and it was the attorney who you spoke with who was reading off that statement. That is the woman you spoke with, right, Julia?
Correct.
Yes. Okay, so she read the prepared statement in court, in that peaceful presentation, then somehow turned into that bit of anger and shouting. So we'll speak with our affiliate and keep gathering more details. Julia, any word what the sentence is with this plea for Andrew Delke?
3 years is the sentence that Delke will receive. I believe he even said, or the judge said on the record, that he won't be able to petition for an early release under this sentence. And like I mentioned, for manslaughter, the range would have been 3 to 6 years. So he did get the minimum for manslaughter. He was facing first-degree murder, which carried a maximum sentence of life in prison without parole.
Julia Janae, thank you so much for your reporting, helping us break down this story. We will keep a close eye on it.